Hi everyone, I hope you're well. It's Sunday morning still, I think. I've been printing, so I thought I'd hop on here and have a bit of a chat as well. Um, it's ridiculously cold this morning. I'm not sure what's going on. We had such a lovely taste of summer recently, and then boom, back to cold weather this morning. So I am freezing and I've got the heater on behind me, so that's all right. I'll warm up eventually. Yeah, so what have I been printing today? Not too exciting, not a long print at all. Well, exciting for me, but not too exciting in terms of print technique or quality or quantity or anything else really. But it's only on butcher's paper, but bad angle. Anyway, you can tell that there's a leftover from my fortune teller that I was printing about 3 weeks ago. So I've been filling in as many of these images on the linos, the 30 by 30 centimeter linos as I can, because they're freaking expensive and why waste space, right? So anyway, so ignore the part of here, but as you can see, there is my ringleader and there's my megaphone and also my pointing hand down the bottom. Sizes aren't proportional at all, but that doesn't matter because I'll be scanning those and playing with them in Sketchbook Pro and getting them all sorted. I'm particularly loving the ringleader at the moment. Enough people said that said that the ringleader, that they look like me, and I'm loving that because that wasn't really on purpose, and I guess everything you draw puts a little bit of yourself in, but I kind of like the idea that the ringleader, the person in charge of everything that I'm making with this artwork, of all the other characters, is a bit like me. That's nice. And I also find it kind of weirdly interesting because there might be other non-binary characters that I make in this story. Of the privilege of meeting with the circus folk, but that was the one that I had in mind because I kept sort of wavering between what's tradition with circus and what's not, and I don't know why I'm so fascinated by circuses, but I am. And the more history I was reading into it, see, like, to me a ringleader is just it's just the person that runs the circus, but I didn't realise the background of their outfits. Like, I didn't realise the connection with the horses. Like, I knew there were horses at circuses, but I didn't realise that was a specific sort of circus, and that the ringleader was literally the person in charge. That's why they've got a whip of the horses. I don't know what I thought they were doing with the whip, if it wasn't whipping horses or lions, or animals. I don't know. I just didn't get that it was all about horses and people standing on the back of horses and everything else. Like, I knew that was part of the circus. I just didn't get that was what the ringleader's role was. Like, literally a horse ringleader. There you go. So anyway, but there were, I guess, mostly we associate that role with men, but there certainly was a strong history of women having that role as well. And my natural inclination is always to go for putting a woman in charge. I think just that's not because I don't think men can do it, but I just think there needs to be some leveling of the playing field because men have always been portrayed as the people in charge. So, but with this character, I just kept going backwards and forwards, and I just said, oh, of course, they're just non-binary and that's easy. And of all the things in the world that well, there's a lot of things in the world I don't know, but all the things in the world that I didn't understand and I've tried to teach myself about, the whole non-binary thing is just freaking awesome. It's just excellent. It's just so obvious to me now, but I never quite got it. Like, that's lack of exposure. I just really wish, this isn't new. Like, non-binary, it feels new to people like me. It certainly feels new to people that are older than me, I think. But if you go back in history, like before, what we call, or what people just say is tradition for us, like, it's a bit like weddings. It's a bit crap, isn't it? Like, oh, it's been done this way forever. No, not really. Maybe 200-300 years, and we think that that's forever. But when you go back, certainly in First Nations cultures and everything else, there's always been people that non-binary, and they had their place, and were accepted, and that all makes sense. It's you know, our modern interpretation of history. That's the problem, right? It's not that these people didn't exist; they always existed. It's just that they were given room to exist. And I mean, I think that's what my whole thing with print change is about. I think that's what I'm aiming to do with it, you know, is let's give some space to people. I'm going to say without privilege, but that's not what I mean. Let's give some space to everyone, like not just save that space for, you know, white men with a bit of accompaniment from white women and not too many other people. Let's give space to everyone. Why the hell not? Like, why not mix it up and make it more interesting? I mean, certainly representative of life, but there's reasons why everything's portrayed as right. There's reasons why everything's portrayed with men in charge. And that's so we don't question the narrative. And frick, why wouldn't we want to question it? It's not helpful to a lot of people to have it be so standardized. It's not interesting. It's not realistic. There's nothing about it that makes sense. And people who want to cling to that narrative don't do it out of sense of tradition. They do it out of sense of, well, maybe they do because they're not questioning it, but they do it out of a sense of what will they lose. And that's pathetic. Like, really, if that's all you're worried about, get over it, you know? Like, let's hear everyone's stories. Anyway, it's easy for me to say as a privileged white person. So, but I think that for those people who watch this, if you're watching this and the idea of a non-binary ringleader, or, you know, a woman in charge of a circus, or, you know, anyone who's not basically white male challenges you, you're probably in the wrong spot when it comes to me anyway. But just maybe take some time to work out why that's a challenge and get over it. Anyway, there you go. So I will be cleaning those up and getting them sorted. I've got, I should have bought my new lino in. I didn't think of it. It's sitting in the bathroom because it was drying after I transferred images last night. I've got a couple of acrobats that I'll be carving this week. And what else? Oh, an opening for a circus tent, and a ticket to get into the circus, and a banner that says the Privilegeometer. And I've got lots more of these little characters that I want to do, but I think I've done enough now that once I get the text ready, I'll be able to cart this off back to Collide, and who are the organisation that are have expressed interest in working with me on it. I think I'm really ready to go, and that's kind of really exciting. I was kind of feeling a bit, not wishy-washy, that's not right, but just like a bit under the pump, I think. So I've got so much on, and I'm split, you know. The privilege meter is, if my artworks represent parts of my personality, the privilege meter is the fun part, the happy part, the just like, who gives a rat's, let's just mix it up part. Whereas Paper Women is my consciousness. I haven't really thought this melody through. Obviously, I'm just running on tangents today. Paper Women is my sense of duty, my conscious. Yeah, maybe that's enough. That works. So I owe Paper Women, whereas the Privilegeometer is just my stick that I'm poking the world with and saying, you know, stop taking yourself so seriously, you know. Let's just make it fair for everyone. So I tend to do the Privilegeometer not around the edges. Like, I definitely want to get it done, but I drop everything for Paper Women because that's where my sense of responsibility feels strongest. But I went to White Night last night in Geelong, and it was just awesome. It was just awesome. I'd been to White Night in Ballarat a couple of years ago, and it was awesome but feral. It was so packed, and there was just, I mean, you know, for those of you who've been to Ballarat, and the majority of you who listen to this would have, it's just beautiful. Oh, building after building after building, and all of them were projected with these just magnificent, you know, this magnificent imagery, artworks. And then there was some sort of performing pieces moving through the crowd, so sculptural pieces like, you know, puppets and stuff like that. And it was really focused on, say, maybe 2 or 3 cross streets, but just mainly Sturt Street, and it was packed. And I mean, we didn't get there till late. We had to park about 6 blocks away, trying to maneuver through the crowd. Our kids were a bit younger. We made the mistake of not feeding them before we went because we thought we'd be able to get food. The place was insane. The queues were massive. So I was a little bit tentative. Like, we actually got there before it even got dark last night, and that was on me because I was just like, we've got to get there. It says 7 o'clock, we've got to get there so we can at least get some food and enjoy it before it gets too busy. Well, it was different. It was different from Ballarat. Not better or worse, but just different. Well, maybe better for me, but not worse overall. But it was spread out like Geelong's town centre. It was spread out between the foreshore right up to you know, the library and then back, and so there was a lot more of a grid pattern happening, a lot more opportunities for little pockets of action, and it felt overall to me a bit more, I was going to say arty, but it was just, there were buildings that were definitely lit up, but the more interesting things to me were the little pieces of art that were happening on the way, I guess. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. And it was like, everywhere you looked, there was a sea of people, but it wasn't so, you know, because on Sturt Street, it was just really restricted by the buildings in that one strip of street. It wasn't like that. It was, you could move easily through the crowd. You could get to the front. You could see what was happening with the performance art and the bands and everything. And it just felt a bit calmer for me because I'm not a big, huge, massive crowd person. I tend to freak out, and so do my kids. So I think we were all pretty relaxed, and we just wandered until we had enough, probably queuing 25 minutes for the churros, which were average for churros at best. That was the only stupid thing we really did. Apart from that, it was just a really awesome night. Anyway, enough of a review on White Night. But the thing was, I was looking at these artworks and I was looking at these projections, and oh gee, I could see the privilege meter there. I could just see it there easily, and it just was a good, happy thought to think that within the next time this rolls around, whether it's Ballarat or Bendigo, I mean, there's no guarantees it could happen. It would happen, but it could happen, and that was a really lovely thought. So like, I think what I see this artwork being in my head could easily be at a place like that, and that means that all those thousands of people could easily interact with it, and I don't know, could change stuff, which is the whole purpose of print change, isn't it? It just is what it's meant to be doing. It's what I want it to do. It's what it's meant to be doing. And if it was handled in the right way, paper women could do the same thing. And maybe I should be a little bit less protective of, I wasn't actually, well, I'll take that back. I wasn't actually particularly protective of paper women to begin with. Like, I knew it was a sensitive conversation or sensitive material, but I got protective of it because it was rejected so many times. I was pushed back on it so many times, and it's been, every story is hard to get, and I totally understand why that is. So I don't think to, like, the privilege meter is challenging, but it's fun challenging. I don't think to try and put paper women in situations like White Night, but you know, in the right way, at the right time, there's no reason it couldn't either. And maybe projection artworks are the future of print change. Maybe. Anyway, there you go. 15 minutes of me crapping on. That's what you always wanted in your life. So I have to go. I've got stuff to get on with today, and you've got better things to do than listen to me much longer anyway. So I hope you are. I hope you're happy. If you can be happy, I hope you're safe. That's a big one. I really do hope you are safe, and I hope you live in a place, no matter how big or small, that has events like White Night that can just tickle your fancy and get you thinking and put you in a space of awe and just delight. I hope that's part of your life. And yeah, I'll talk to you next week. See ya.